It just doesn't seem to get any easier this decade. We're not even 3 years in, and it's been one thing after another. We started off with a worldwide pandemic, and that was just the start of that. Political turmoil, a ground war in Europe, inflation, surging interest rates, and now bank failures. So the whole SVB, the Silicon Valley Bank, that whole saga, which just played out in the last week, it was some crazy, crazy stuff. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs that went through a world of hurt and a world of turmoil. It seems like it's going to work out. It sounds like it's all going to work out for them, but some crazy days, some crazy hours for them. And I have friends and acquaintances that it was an existential threat whether they're going to be able to keep the doors open through no fault of their own. They had just put money into a bank, one of the top 20 banks in the United States, not a crazy investment, just in a bank account, and all of a sudden their money was gone. And the question was, could they make payroll? Were they going to keep the doors open? Were they going to be able to stay in business? It was crazy. And I mean, it's that world of funded startups. So I mean, really, there's sort of, it's not my world so much, but it's tangential. And I had a lot of friends in that. So just a little sidebar, there's funded companies that are going after investors and angel investors, and then venture capital. And then there's bootstrapped companies that are basically self-funded and grown out of their own investments. And so my business is completely bootstrapped. I don't have any outside investors. Most of my clients, most of my world, we're all bootstrapped. But we're tangential to that VC world, to that venture capital world, to the world of funded companies. One day I'll have to tell you, I've got a fun story about the difference between funded founders and bootstrap founders. Remind me sometime. It's a fun story. But in any case, it's not, that whole Silicon Valley world isn't really my world, but it's tangential. So I have a bunch of friends over there, a bunch of friends that are doing that. And just all of a sudden, you're plenty busy. You're running your business. You're cranking along. You're trying to get your product right. You're trying to get your marketing right. And all of a sudden, there's no money in your bank account. I was in these text threads with these founders, and wow, just crazy times. And then even some of the people that I know that are more in the bootstrapped world, there was a payroll company, Rippling, that used SVB, and all of a sudden, if you use that payroll company, all of a sudden it wasn't like you were going to lose all your money, but you might lose your entire payroll just because of the way payroll companies work. And so just what a crazy 48, 72 hours that was. And of course, I'm always looking in my business. It's like, where can I build in redundancy? Where can I eliminate that single point of failure? Where is like the risk, especially those big existential risks to my business? Like one of the questions I always ask is like, why? Like if I was looking to buy my business, why would I not want to buy my business? That's a good starting point for finding risk points in your business. In any case, one of the things I always want to have multiple payment processors, multiple bank accounts, where you can easily find redundancy, find it. I've certainly had people like that whole payment processor. If you just have one way to process payments, and that gets shut down for any number of reasons, and that happens, then all of a sudden it's a serious constriction in your business. So that's a good single point of failure to eliminate. And of course, when you're first starting out, maybe that's not the first thing you do, but once you start to build a sizable business, you have to start to think like that. So that was one of the thoughts that, I spent a lot of time thinking about that type of thing, and we have eliminated most of the single points of failure in my business. Not all of them, most of them. But yeah, you always as an entrepreneur, you always need to be thinking about this. So that was like one big thought going through my head. And the second one was, thank God I am an entrepreneur. And it's just because the ultimate security, we're in a very crazy decade here. The hits just keep on coming. And what's the ultimate security? The ultimate security is having the ability to create value and having the ability to communicate that value to people so that they open up their wallet or open up their purse and they pay you for that value. You know, right now, another big shot, the big layoffs are happening. You know, on one hand, it's a hot job market. On the other hand, big time layoffs are happening. The ultimate security is being able to create value, communicate that value to others, and get paid for that value. And that's why I love being an entrepreneur, even in challenging times. And that's why I love helping and serving entrepreneurs and helping people become entrepreneurs and grow their businesses as entrepreneurs. Because in an insecure world, it is the ultimate security. So my heart and my thoughts and well wishes go out to everyone who went through some crazy times in the last week with SVB. It was just sitting on the sidelines watching some of my friends and acquaintances go through it was scary enough and so yeah, sorry if that was you, sorry that happened, and let's just hope at some point these shock waves lessen up, but know that until they do, your best defense is a good offense, and that's developing those skills to be able to build that value and tell people about that value and convince them and compel them to pay you for that value. So I'm Jeff Walker. Wherever you're watching this, scroll down, leave a comment for me, and let's go get them this week.